Well, looks like we're passing around Yunli's light cone. First it was Clara, now it's Blade, but hopefully this will be interesting and informative enough. We're gonna keep tally of how many times Blade gets targeted, and at the end I have a little damage comparison between Yunli's signature against Blade's. Spoilers though, it's not even close, but kind of expected. We're mostly interested in using this for the increased aggro anyway. We're doing MOC 11, not 12, because 12 is just way too cringe. Enemies don't attack at all, and none of them are wind weak, and I don't want to spend 20... Okay, it's not going to take that long, but I don't want to spend that much time just testing the increased aggro. As a refresher, just by having this light cone equipped, Blade's chance of being targeted goes from 29 to 71% in this team, which is pretty significant. So far so good though, all 4 hits have landed, or all 4 targets have been on Blade. Even though this is only one run, we should be able to see the effects of the increased aggro. Now, while the consistency is nice, it's not as good as it sounds. I did try this in Pure Fiction as well, but the problem there is you kind of need to run Herta or Jade alongside him to get max score. I don't have Jade, but with Herta, everything just dies, even if you're trying to maximize energy and getting hit more, so there wasn't really any noticeable improvement. The other problem is it only buffs follow-up attack damage, and it's conditional too. Whenever you ult, you gain 36% follow-up attack damage for 2 turns, which stacks up to 2, but Blade's not going to be ulting frequently enough to max this out, maybe in rare scenarios, but also you're pretty much always running Blade with Bronya, and by the time you do your second ult, the first stack has already worn off. Even if you do manage to maintain good uptime, most of Blade's damage is not getting buffed unless it's Pure Fiction, but there's still ramp up time before you can launch it, so it's very backloaded. Aside from that though, 36% crit damage is good, it's pretty standard. You have 5-star base stats, but unfortunately, it's neutral leaning. Blade signature, for example, has higher base HP at the cost of lower defense, so stat allocation wise, it's a little lackluster for him, but we'll see in the damage tests later what the actual difference is. It's still hard to quantify how much value the increased aggro provides, but in most fights, you're only getting 1 to 2 more follow-up attacks than you would normally, and if that doesn't sound like a lot, it isn't. It's not the same as Clara or Yunli, where every time they get hit they counter. Blade's follow-up attack is really slow to ramp up to. I kind of wish they made the base charge required 4, and then E6 they can give him 3, but it is what it is. It's still really satisfying whenever you, like, I think his follow-up attack is my favorite animation in the game still. Well, maybe not animation, but one of my favorite attacks. It feels so impactful. But yeah, I don't want to say this light cone is bad or anything. It's definitely an option. There are some other advantages too, which again are really hard to measure. Like getting hit more often leads to more energy, which means more ults and more charge for his follow-up attack. Also increases the amount of HP he loses, which adds to his ult damage. But the end result here is Blade got targeted 9 times out of 12, which is exactly 75%. That means this is about your average run luck. If we got a bit luckier, got hit one more time, we probably could have zero cycled this as well, because we ended up on 4 out of 5 charge. But let's go take a look at the damage comparison. We have Yunli's signature up first. We're going to be looking at the enhanced basic attack, ult, and follow-up attack damage. For Yunli's signature, we also only have 1 stack of the follow-up attack damage buff, which should make sense. Okay, let's move on to Blade's signature here. I'll show you the exact percentage differences from one light cone to the next as well, and go over the build and how I balance this. Okay, you can see here that Blade's light cone, Blade signature, does beat it out by quite a bit for his enhanced basic attack and ult, but actually loses slightly to Yunli's signature for follow-up attack damage, which is kind of expected. Now, the one problem I was talking about earlier is the Unreachable side does have a higher base HP. You can see when we just make the switch, he went from, what, 6,900 something to 7,900. I do need to balance the builds, as I said, so you can see with his own sig, he's at 100. This is his regular build. I'll switch with Clara here, and these are his stats with his signature. Now, the problem with swapping these is he gains a little more attack. So when I did the test with his own signature, I used, where is it? Is it self-sufficer? It's one of these foods. Yeah, this one. So 190 attack. This is the food I used to balance it. He barely scales off of attack, but I wanted to make it as balanced as possible when he has this equipped. There is a slight issue. So you saw with his own signature, he had around 80, 190. When he has Yunli's signature, he has a ratio of 80, 170. So what I did in that case was I went and ate 24% crit damage food, I believe, not this one. There's another one here. Yeah, I had this one. The crit rate doesn't matter. We're only looking at crit hits anyway. So slightly more crit damage on this build. So 5% more crit damage, but it's kind of balanced out by the slightly more attack on self-sufficer. At the end of the day, it's impossible to control for everything. If you run your own tests, you might see maybe a 1 to 2% deviation from my results, but you get the general idea. The signature, I would say, or Yunli signature, I would say, does pretty well in AoE scenarios because, again, follow-up attack damage will contribute more of the overall damage in AoE, but for main usage, you're not really getting more follow-up attacks. It's not really worth having this over his own signature, but let's just go run through his build really quick again. Hopefully what I said makes sense. I do have him maxed out. He's one of my favorite characters. I still use him to this day, even though, you know, a lot of people say he's fallen off a little bit, which whether that's true or not, as long as you can clear content, then it's fine, right? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope this helped. If it did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.